Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Switch gears, and I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about college hoops. But more specifically, I want to talk about a topic that we're going to be talking about quite a bit here on the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel over these next couple months, and that is the college hoops transfer portal. So on Monday, the portal opened. We did a quick reaction to all of the news on Monday. We talked Brandon Garrison from Oklahoma State. We talked Andrej Stojakovic from Stanford, all of the big names that have entered. Well, it is Wednesday night, and since then, we have had a number of other big names enter, and I just want to kind of go through and get to them really quick. This is stuff that I think a lot of you guys love. Listen, if your team's in the tournament, obviously that's the focus, but let's be honest, after this weekend, there's only going to be 16 teams left. Your roster is going to kind of go in different directions. Your coaching staff is going to be locked in on the portal. So I'm just trying to keep you updated as best I can on everybody you need to know in the portal. So let's get to some of the bigger names that have entered over the last couple days. The first one, the biggest one, the most important one, quite literally and figurative. Maxim Rhod. Okay, if you are not familiar with this name, he played at Stanford. And what's funny is you wouldn't think that Stanford would have a bunch of high-level guys. The team was not very successful over these last couple of years, but they dealt with a lot of injuries. I think there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with the administration and the school and whatever. I bring it up because we mentioned Andrej Stojakovic the other day, the son of Peja. But Maxim Rhod is, I would argue, maybe the best player in the transfer portal right now. 7'1" center from France. He was second team All Pac-12. And when I tell you this kid is a modern day kind of like that 7'1" dude that can pass, dribble, shoot, kind of that Euro feel, this kid is that, okay? This year for Stanford, how about this? 15.5 points per game. 9.6 rebounds per game, 2 assists. And oh, by the way, at 7'1", shot 36% from behind the three-point arc. And so this guy can do it all. He did it on not a very good team. And what's interesting is I'm actually a little bit surprised that he is even in the portal to begin with. I was led to believe that he basically, because he's from France, he has some professional offers and was considering returning home. And probably coming back at some point and finishing that Stanford degree. But I wonder if one of two things happen. As a junior, I wonder if he can graduate this year and then play college basketball next year. Or I wonder if the offer started rolling in so big and so good that he simply could not refuse. Bottom line, in terms of style of play, now I'm not going to start speculating on, where he's going to end up. But in terms of style of play, I'll tell you, this kid feels like a Gonzaga, and Arizona, again, a pace and space, pass, dribble, shoot kind of kid, but he could literally play anywhere in the country. And so I expect many of the big SEC schools to get involved. I expect anybody that can basically pay real NIL money. But Maxim Rhod from Stanford is probably at this point the biggest name in the portal. 15.5 points, 9.5 rebounds per game, all while, by the way, shooting 36% from three. Let's keep it going with yet another name from Stanford. He didn't know we'd be talking this much Stanford basketball, but with Jared Haas out, a lot of guys are moving. And one name that I did think was going to hit the portal and has since our last update is a guard named Canon Carlile, okay? 6'3", was a top 50 recruit in last year's recruiting class, had offers from Kansas, had offers from Bama, had offers from pretty much everywhere in college basketball, decides to go to Stanford for that Stanford education. Was out the beginning part of this season, but the second half came in and came on strong. As a true freshman in college basketball, again, he didn't play in November and part of December. Ends up averaging 11.5 points per game in his only season in the Pac-12 as a true freshman. Not much of a distributor yet, not a great shooter yet, about 32% on the season. But he had some big games. I think he hit 6 threes against Arizona. As I just mentioned, 28 points in a win over Arizona earlier in the year, 31 against Washington State. So this kid can do it against the upper levels of college basketball, 2 tournament teams in those 2 games that I just mentioned, averaged 29 and a half points per game. So really talented player, really good guard. He doesn't have great size, but certainly has NBA athleticism. And as I said, if you can average 11 and a half as a freshman in a power conference, you can play pretty much anywhere. What'll be interesting, he is from the Atlanta area, played at Overtime Elite with the likes of Rob Dillingham and guys like that. And I do wonder if this kid ends up going closer to home. I don't think he's going to stay at Stanford. I've been told, listen, the degree is great. It would be important, but the focus right now is on his basketball future. And I believe every team in the SEC is going to make a phone call on this. Early list from Joe Tipton the other day included Indiana. It included, by the way, he's the kind of kid that Indiana could use because they need dynamic guards, and he fits that bill. I saw Gonzaga made the phone call, Baylor, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia Tech. I know he is close with Damon Stoudemire, who, of course, is the Georgia Tech head coach. But as I said, I think everybody in the SEC is going to get in the mix on this kid. Canon Carlile, the name to know there. Another school that saw some major kind of attrition on Wednesday, and I don't know that I'm that surprised. That's Rutgers, okay? Rutgers had a pair of fifth-year guys that will be going into their 5th year, have that COVID year, go into the portal. And it's worth noting, in my opinion, because of the fact that, why I think it's a big deal, but why I don't think it's a big deal. Remember, Rutgers has 2 top 10 recruits coming in next year. Dylan Harper, the local kid, his brother, Ron Harper Jr., played at Rutgers. And then, of course, Ace Bailey from Georgia. And so I bring it up because of the fact that I think these older guys are like, we're not going to come back and just be role players around 2 freshmen, which I don't blame the freshmen, but I don't blame the older guys either. But 2 guys did hit the portal with that COVID year of eligibility left. The first one, and this is the big one, Cliff Amayori, okay, 7-foot center. He's been around for a while. He was like one of the highest rated recruits in Rutgers history when he committed. 4 years at the school, 10 and a half points per game, 8 and a half rebounds. How about this? Close to 3 blocks per game. You guys know I don't crunch the advanced metrics. And it's not to say they don't have value. It's just to say that it's just not something that I do. But there are some stats that would indicate that basically he was one of the best defensive bigs, or at the very least, one of the best rim protectors in college basketball this year. Again, close to 3 blocks per game in 27 or so minutes of playing college basketball. So you can extrapolate what that would look like over a 40-minute stretch. The other name out of Rutgers, by the way, the early name that I have heard on Cliff Omoyori, I have heard a little bit of St. John's buzz. Could that potentially be a landing spot for him? Could he stay in the tri-state area, go play for Rick Pitino? The other name, and I think this is an interesting one, they have a kid named Mawot Mag, who just finished his 4th year at Rutgers with Cliff Omoyori, obviously. Mawot Mag this past year was the 4th leading scorer at Rutgers, averaged 9.1 points per game, about 4 rebounds, an assist and a half, and a steal and a half. This kid's 6'7", super athletic. And what I can tell you is I remember watching him practice in high school a million years ago. He actually played high school ball with Jalen Green, who's now in the NBA, Namari Burnett, who's at Michigan, etc. But Mawot was the kind of kid. Coleman Hawkins, by the way, was on that team, who's now at Illinois. I bring it up because he's the kind of kid that every major college basketball program can use. Super athletic, super skilled, bought in, not super skilled, I take that back. Super athletic, skilled enough, but buys into the role. Not a guy that needs 20 shots a game, not a guy that's going to demand the ball. So he is a guy, I think he can help every team in college basketball. 9.1 points per game, and I think he has a value as a glue guy, as a wing defender. Everybody could use a piece just like him. Mawot Mag is in the portal. Another name that I think is worth noting, and this is obviously a very interesting one, is Dvo Davis from Arkansas. And Dvo Davis is a guy that I don't think we should be totally surprised is in the portal. I guess you would say an up and down 4 years at Arkansas, but he was part of some of the greatest moments in Arkansas basketball history. That isn't hyperbole. Remember, as a true freshman in 2021, he hit the buzzer beater that led Arkansas to the Elite Eight. They beat Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts, of course, in that NCAA tournament had Max Abmas, who's still in college basketball. But I bring it up because Dvo Davis was part of so many legendary moments at Arkansas. Buzzer beater to win the game to send Arkansas to the Elite Eight in 2021. 2022, I think, was the year they beat Texas Tech with Chris Beard. Maybe it was also that 2021 tournament where they beat Texas Tech. He shut down Mac McClung on that final play. Mac McClung's trying to get the ball. He can't get the ball. It's because of Dvo Davis. Last year, Kansas, final shot to go to the Sweet 16. It was Dvo Davis's defense. It's Muss hugging him on the sidelines. Well, he decides to go and listen, I'll be honest, I don't have any true speculation on this, but it just felt like it was the right time. 4 years there. He left the program in the middle of the season, and it feels like it was just time for him to move on and try something else. I'll be curious because I do think there's a valuable role for him somewhere. I also think, by the way, older guy, Arkansas kid, maybe there was a little too much pressure on him playing for the state school, but he is a really good player. I think he can be a third guard on a very good team. Dvo Davis in the portal, curious to see where he ends up. I could see him staying at the high major level and continuing his college career for one more year. Couple commitments that I want to talk about. Okay, so it feels a little early for commitments, but did you see there were two big ones on on Tuesday. So how about this? Let's start with Nate Oates and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama picked up a commitment from a kid named Houston Mallett, from Pepperdine. Now, first off, I saw some of this. Well, how could he have just entered the portal? There's obviously tampering. How is he committing already? Well, this kid was at Pepperdine. Pepperdine fired Lorenzo Romar as its coach about 2 weeks ago. So this kid has been in the portal for 2 weeks. He commits to Alabama. Maybe there was tampering, but what I will say is I think it realistically was he was in the portal. He found the right fit. And when I say the right fit, this kid is the right fit at Alabama. Averaged 15 points per game for Pepperdine. I think most importantly, a 41.5% three-point shooter. I know Alabama needed some guards after this year. Aaron Estrada's leaving. There's a couple other guys that probably won't be in the program this year. But I think this is the kind of kid, go play for Nate Oates for a year or two. I think he's an NBA-type prospect. Saw Sam Vecini from The Athletic say he has future NBA upside. He's about 6'5", 6'6", from California. Commits to Nate Oates, average 15 points per game. Finally, really good player, also committed to the SEC, Jacob Cruz, from UT Martin, averaged 19 points per game this year. I mentioned him on Monday's update, okay? I don't want to make the Dalton Connect comparison because I don't think it's fair. But smaller school, athletic kid, can score on all three levels, averaged 19 points per game this past season, 41% three-point shooting. He is committed to Missouri. And when I tell you this is a major commitment for Dennis Gates and a guy that absolutely needed one, this is a major commitment. Missouri obviously finished winless in SEC play. They will obviously, it goes without saying, lose their best player in Sean East to graduation. And they need dudes that can put the ball in the basket. They struggled to put the ball in the basket all year long. This kid averaged close to 20 points per game at UT Martin. And he is one that I do believe it's going to take some time. It might take a couple weeks, but he will adjust to the high major level. I think he can get buckets against anybody. Very good commitment from Notre Dame here, or from Missouri, here early in the portal cycle. So I think that's it for the updates. The names you need to know: Canon Carlile, Maxim Rhod from Stanford, Dvo Davis from Arkansas, of course, Cliff Omoyori and Mawat Mag from Rutgers. We will keep you updated, and I'll tell you this. I think next week is the week that it's really full speed ahead. Remember, we will only have 16 teams playing college basketball after Sunday. And so that is when a lot of guys are going to enter the portal. And I think next week is where it's full speed ahead, 1,000 miles an hour in terms of who is available. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube. We're talking portal all off season long. Oh, by the way, make sure you're following CBB Transfers on Twitter, a great place to get all of your transfer information, college basketball transfers.